let's just start with the Christmas album. It's not I know you had other singles out before the album, but
Yes.
usually you don't lead with a Christmas album. So tell me what your reasoning was for doing that.
Well, obviously, you know, my family, we are big Christmas people. Um, I've always released singles. I actually don't know why. Well, I think financially it's easier to obviously put out singles. And with my fan base still growing, I have just been wanting to give them singles because that's what they like. They fall in love with a song, and I just put it out. Um, the Christmas album, I think because there already is such a large fan base back home from the B.E. Taylor shows, um, I just felt the urge to just put out a Christmas album and kind of dedicate it to him because I never got to write or write a song or really work well other than being on stage. I never got to write a Christmas song with him before he passed. So I wanted to kind of tailorize, as he would say, uh, some of the classics that I loved growing up. So there's three classics, and then there's seven originals that I wrote with BC. So that was really cool because like I said, I never got to write with my uncle. So getting to write with BC and Anthony Rankin and Anthony's wife, who they've all been a part of the family as dear friends and in the band for years. It was really really special to be able to do that. But yeah, I just feel like Christmas is so easy to put songs into a group, and there's so many of them. I love so many of them. So it was really easy to just kind of focus my time on that.
Um, so Christmas with You again is not about your uncle.
It is. Uh,
Okay, I
it,
thought so.
yeah, it very much so is. I always say when I perform that song out that I put that song last on the album for a reason. It's my favorite song. I saved the best for last, in my opinion. And I got the idea after he had passed, and it was like the first Christmas without him. And I think that year we didn't do the show. So that year we kind of just laid low and kind of just sat in our feelings and obviously still grieving him. Um, and I had the idea that like we did everything right. We put the tree up, we baked the cookies, we listened to his songs and all the other Christmas Carol classics. But it just still wasn't the same without him here. And it
Right.
turned into missing all of my loved ones. I think it's so fitting for everyone who has lost someone, and the sad reality is that everyone has lost someone. So it kind of turned into kind of missing all of my loved ones. And it's been 10 years for my pap. It's been 8 years for Uncle Bill, and there's still a sense of sadness around the holidays without them all here.
One Wish was One Wish the single off that album, or
No, Christmas with You again actually was.
Christmas with You? Oh, okay, it
Yeah.
was okay.
One
Because you
Wish
did one.
is um that's I feel like I pushed that to radio back home.
Well, you did it the other night, wasn't it? Wasn't that the one you did at the Yinzer? Because that was there.
I,
That's why.
I love that one.
Yeah.
If I have to pick like a fun one to do out, it's usually that one.
Okay. Okay. Tell me about that one just a little bit. I mean, it's obvious from the storyline, but how did
Yeah.
you end up with that one?
I I love Christmas. And I feel like there's such like just I mean magic is kind of cliche, but there is like a magic in the air when
Mhm.
I feel like Christmas time is around, and I feel like everyone's sweeter, everyone's happier. Um, and it kind of ties into my other song, Christmas Love, talking about that also. Just like everyone, you have strangers talking when they're out, just people acting like they've known each other for years, and just everyone is just sweeter. And I feel like it's just a happier time for everyone. But yeah, if I honestly had one wish, anyone who knows me says it would be to have Christmas all year round.
I think you're setting the bar really high because I listened to some of your singles and then I listened to Your Last Name and I'm like, some guy's got a big problem someday. You set the bar really high. You want to pop the question on Christmas. You want, tell me a little bit about that one.
Well, that guy actually, he listened to
Ah,
this. Um, no, that was just a fun one because I hadn't been engaged yet, and we had been dating for we were high school sweethearts, so we had been together for actually we got married on our 7th year,
okay.
and it was just a fun one in the studio because obviously BC knows him, and he was like, "We need to have one about." His name's Frankie. He was like, "We need to have one about Frankie." So, we that was a fun one. We like laughed about that one because if you know my husband, he's like the most low key, like he doesn't like the spotlight. He and here I am like calling him out. But yeah, that was a fun one. And then actually that Christmas he proposed. So it kind of I think I manifested it. Everyone, my cousin's like, I think it worked. I think I
You
think
did set the bar really high for him then.
yeah.
Um, the two is there two covers on here? I'm looking at your album on YouTube right now, so
Oh
that's what
yeah.
I'm just to
There's
make sure I
three
remembered
there's
everything.
three classics. Three
Okay.
that we
Grown
tailor
up,
up. Um,
grown up Christmas list, and Christmas song, and what was the other one? What am I
Home for the
missing?
Holidays.
Oh, Home for the Holidays. Okay. Yeah. Why did you pick those ones?
I've always loved those. The Home for the Holidays, I feel like that was one of my when I the first year I lived in Nashville, I drove home for the holidays. And that was the first song I put on because it's talking about uh Tennessee going home to Pennsylvania for some pumpkin pie. And I was just like, how fitting is this? But I've also always just loved that song growing up. I feel like all three of the songs that I picked were just three songs that I grew up listening to, and it kind of takes me back. Like if I close my eyes, it takes me back to being in my childhood home while my mom's baking, and we got the radio on, and those three songs come to mind when I think of Christmases growing up. And I love Home for the Holidays, and I love how we renditioned it. Um, and Grown Up Christmas List always makes me cry. I remember I feel in the studio when we were recording it, I was like, this song, I had no idea like the true meaning of the song until I'm like was older. And I remember singing that like as a kid, like and just having no idea like the heavy message of that song until I'm older. So that was a emotional one to record. And then what was the other one? Oh, the Christmas song. Oh, Nat King Cole. I love that one. Love, love, love. I've grown up on that song, so love
Yeah.
it.
Are you getting some feedback, some airplay from the album?
Home for the Holidays, we pushed for the Yinzer album.
Hmm.
So that was last year, and so that's on that album, and I that's also getting played on the radio back home. And then the other two aren't, I don't think. And One Wish, I want to say he was pushing too. The radio.
Yeah. Yeah. I think when they did some of the PR for that show particularly, but I mean, um, they were kind of pushing that one out there or adding
Yeah,
or sharing the link to it and that.
yeah.
Um, Let me just jump off that album for a second. Okay, I'm like I said, I'm looking again at your YouTube topic page.
Mhm.
Now I do. Is that like the first three songs from a new album, or is that just a
So
amalgamation of?
that was part. I did like a little wedding EP, and I
Okay.
released it a week before I got married. Um, so that was just an EP of three songs. It had Now I Do, Looking at Houses, and The Sun You Never Had. And
Hmm.
they were kind of just so the Now I Do was talking to him now. When I wrote it, I was like, I found someone who loves me the way that I've always needed and waited for. And Looking at Houses was kind of talking to our future selves, just about like our future plans and our future kids in the house that we end up in. And then The Son You Never Had, I wrote for my dad. So I surprised him with that. And that's the song we danced to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now I do is getting a lot of radio time from Froggy back home.
And that makes a lot of that was kind of where I'd asked you about the bar hide. I'm like, now that you tell me that it's actually kind of a wedding circular, if the CD was circular
Yeah,
centered around weddings, it makes more sense. I was like, she's really setting you have a real good main
I'm
core
really
theme there.
sending a message.
Yeah. Tell me about some. I mean, tell me about some of the other ones. Like, What's Breaking Yours? What If? Last Somebody Knew. Those were all the singles you had out before.
Yeah. What's breaking yours? That was, I don't know if you saw any of my posts about that on Instagram or Facebook, but I was actually my now husband and I were on a flight going to Florida a little over a year ago. And when we boarded the flight, I noticed there was a girl next to the window who was crying that we sat next to. And it was like 10 minutes in when I noticed it. And then it was like that part, it was like an awkward, okay, well, we've been here for 10 minutes. Like, do I ask her everything's okay? But I finally did. And I was just like, is everything okay? And she said, yeah, but she didn't make like eye contact. And I just knew nothing or not everything was okay. And she cried the whole flight and it broke my heart. And I got that song idea. And then when we were in Florida for like 2 days. And when we came back, I wrote it with my best friend, Kaylin Robertson, who when she heard it, she was like, "We have to write this." Because you just never know like what anyone's going through. And when she said she was okay, I knew she wasn't, and it just broke my heart to not know what was breaking hers. So that's where that all came from, and that kind of went viral on TikTok because I was trying to find the girl. Um, I like put a clip it of the song snippet of the song on TikTok trying to find this girl with all the flight details, like what she looked like. And I didn't find her, but it went viral, and people to this day are still asking, like, "Did you ever find her?" And I'm like, "No, I
Yeah.
didn't."
Um, so you moved to Nashville.
Yeah.
I guess what 3 years ago, 4 years ago now.
No, it'll be 6 in September.
Six.
Yeah.
Okay. So what kind of inroads are you making? How's it? I mean, how's all that going for you?
It's going good. It's really, I feel like I was just talking to my dad about this yesterday, actually. I feel like the last 1 to 2 years, um, I've been making my stride and I've been really making like a name for myself and kind of just like finding who I want to be as an artist and like what exactly I want to release and stuff. Um, I feel like the first few years that I was here, I was homesick. I'm such a family person and my whole family's back home still. And at the time, I guess boyfriend and I, who's now my husband, we were long distance because he went to Kent State, Ohio. So we did long distance for 4 years, and that was really tough. Um, so I feel like I was homesick and just in my head because I got here and I was like, you think you're like the best when you're living in Pittsburgh, and then you come to Nashville, literally Music City, and you find real quick that you are not. And there are so many talented people, and that can kind of just like get in your head. Like I remember doubting, just being like, did I make the wrong call? Like, did I mess up everything and move here for nothing? But then I met friends, and BC was I call him my mentor. Um, and he still is. He helps me every day. But yeah, I feel like the last 1 to 2 years is when I first like really started getting out there and doing what I came here to do. And I'm writing a lot. I'm Last year I didn't really get to play out as much because wedding planning took over my life. So 2025, I'm excited to get out and play more and just continue writing. So I love,
You say when you say get out and play more, you mean like the clubs, the writers' nights, and those
yeah,
kind of
like the
things?
writers rounds. I played CMA Fest last year with my publicist team. So I would love to be able to play CMA Fest on a bigger stage this year, kind of work my way up. Um, trying to think of, but yeah, mainly I want to play out more with like the rounds and stuff and just write. I love writing. I love writing people's stories. I love writing my stories. So
Yeah, I guess it's an obvious question, but your whole goal is to try to make a whole career out of writing or out of performing.
I always say I love performing. And I would love to be able to make it there one day, play in arenas. Um, but I also equally love writing. So I would be very happy if that was the plan God had for me, was to just be signed to a publishing deal and writing my stories, writing other people's stories. Um, so I always say I would be very happy either way because I love doing both of them. But yeah, the goal is to be able to do both.
Great. Okay.
That's
Is
what
there
we're
anything
working towards.
is there anything else you want to add in thought
Um,
wise, or what you have coming? I mean, do you have more singles planned for the new year? Or
well, I have my new one, Silver Bells, out. I don't know if you saw that. I released that a couple weeks
yeah,
ago.
yeah,
Um,
I did it on there.
that is being pushed on radio back home. So I guess, yeah, we could talk about that a little bit. But that was another classic so I have plans to make a Christmas 2 next year. So I might just have 2 Christmas albums before. No, no,
Well, you had to
I
make
do.
three. Wait, no, you got to make three. I mean, come on.
I do have plans to make a country EP, maybe of like 5 or 6 songs in the spring. Um, but for next Christmas, I do have plans because I do Shaker Woods too. So
Right,
I do a lot more right now for Christmas, so it makes sense to have all of the Christmas material. I do Shaker Woods in October, and then we do the Holly Jolly show back home in Hopewell. We do the Yinzer, and then we do all the BE stuff. So it just makes sense to have Christmas music out for me. But I do have plans for Christmas too, and so Silver Bells was kind of that hint into that. Um,
right.
and it's just another fun classic. I literally woke up one day and had the idea of how it's I don't know. I always grew up with like the slow Andy Williams, I think. Dean
Yeah, I
Martin.
know what you
I
mean.
think they
Perry
both,
Como, one of those guys.
yeah, Dean Martin and Andy Williams, I want to say both did Silver Bells. And then Martina McBride did it as I got older. Um, and they were all I love their versions, but they were all kind of like similar in like the tempo, just like the feel of them. And mine's like kind of upbeat and fun. So it was really fun to be able to do that. I did that also with BC and Anthony Rankin. So that was fun. And then I broke the news to them that we need to write more Christmas originals. So
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, having those different arrangements, and again, that's the influence you had growing up, I'm sure. It, it adds something to it. That makes your Christmas music stand apart from everybody else's.
yeah. Yeah, and I always say that was one of my favorite things about watching and listening to my uncle was how he took the old Christmas classics and made them sound like
Yeah,
today. And that was I think it's a true talent to have to be able to make something that when people listen to it, they're like, "Is this the same song?" Yeah, it is the same. It's the same lyrics. Is it this? Yeah. Um,
yeah.
and I think it's really cool when you're able to do that. So it was a really fun process to kind of dip my feet into that as well. And there's more to come for Christmas 2 and 3 and 4, all before
Uh,
my country album.
which wait, okay, so you're pushing Silver Bells
Yeah,
as the
that's my
newer
single
single.
right now. That I released that in November for this Christmas season, and
Yeah.
then I Froggy's also playing that, I wanna say, throughout the season.
So you're no newcomer to the stage as far as that goes. I know you did it when you were younger too, didn't you? Younger than
Yeah,
that even. Yeah, I looked for pictures and for some reason I don't have them, but being as crowded as that theater always was, you could only get so close to get shots.
yeah. No,
Um,
yeah, I always say that's what Christmas was to my family and I. My sisters and I grew up with the shows, and that's what we knew all of November and December. And so when he passed, obviously it left such a void in our hearts and all of his fans because that was a tradition for so many and like along with my family. So